Welcome back, guys. Papa Pepper here. This is some footage that I really wish I would have been able to complete and finish recording at the time this happened. Last year I received my first venomous snake bite right here, and I learned a lot of lessons. And if you watch my channel, where you've seen some of my videos, including my most popular video, how to accurately identify a water moccasin, I'm passionate about educating people about the venomous snakes and the non-venomous snakes, because a lot of people are very ignorant, even in this information age. So a lot of people freak out way more often than they need to, and just having irrational fear when you don't need to, I consider to be a negative thing. So I try to equip people with education and understanding and insight so that they don't need to have all of that stress and fear and things that come along with not understanding a situation. That said, the video was never finished because within 2 hours of shooting the footage you're about to see, I was lying in a hospital bed.
Maybe that wasn't such a good idea.
Thankfully, everything went really well for me and I didn't even need antivenom, but it means I never got to finish this video. But the footage was good, it was building really well. I may do something similar to it in the future, and I still wanted to share it. And I think kind of there's no time like the present, because with it getting cold again at the end of the year, the chances of me finding the snakes required to actually finish shooting this according to its original intent are getting slimmer and slimmer. Therefore, it's better if I just kind of do this for now, and if I get the chance in the future to do something from scratch and start over, then I will. But hopefully you guys can learn a couple things. Hopefully this blesses you. There's some really interesting stuff here, some really interesting footage. It was a really good day. It's just that I got interrupted by my first venomous snake bite, so that part didn't work out too well. Enjoy it though. What do you think would happen if we took a non-venomous water snake and a venomous water snake and put them both in a container where they couldn't get out, and we made them fight to the death? We're about to find out. See, actually guys, what happens is, if a snake is not threatened, and if a snake is not trying to get food, they really don't have much incentive to bite or fight. You can see they've got their heads right next to each other, and they really don't care. These snakes will not fight, neither one of them is food for the other, and neither one is a threat to the other. That said, the verses in this video is actually going to be a comparison of just some common non-venomous water snakes and then some common venomous water snakes. Here in the United States, the only indigenous species of venomous water snake would be this North American pit viper known as the cottonmouth or the water moccasin. Other North American pit vipers also include the rattlesnakes and copperheads. But down by the water, you're going to find a lot of non-venomous water snakes. So I've been spending my whole life handling snakes. I've been bitten hundreds at least, if not thousands of times by non-venomous snakes. Every snake that's ever bit me and every snake I've ever caught was either unaware that I was trying to capture it, or they were heading in the other direction. I've never had a snake attack me. I've had them bite me, I've had them be defensive, but they've never been aggressive. And there's a lot of common misconceptions about these guys, so we're just going to kind of show you guys a couple different things, and hopefully it'll be some good information for you guys to consider as you're out there in the wild. When you're looking for snakes and you know their habitats, it doesn't always take very long to find them. I found these cottonmouths in less than 4 minutes of actually looking, if you guys saw that recent video. Moreover, I've also swam with them. And I've gotten some different footage of them really up close where people just watch me and they say, how can you possibly do that? And the point is, what I tell people is, don't be food, and don't be aggressive, don't be a threat, and then don't do what I do. So a lot of the things that I do, if I'm not threatening the snake, if I'm not, it's food, which I'm not, it's really not going to have a reason to bite me. A lot of bites occur because people don't know a snake's there, and they accidentally stumble upon it. And the majority of bites, though, actually occur when people are doing one of two things. One, trying to kill snakes, or two, trying to capture snakes. So if you don't capture them, you don't kill them, you're not going to be very likely to get bit by snakes. And if you stumble upon one, you're going to be kind of that rare person every once in a while. So let's get a closer look at these guys, and we'll start explaining a few things. One common misconception about water moccasins, venomous water snakes, versus non-venomous water snakes is that a venomous water snake will swim on the surface of the water, and a non-venomous water snake will swim below the surface of the water. But I've seen water moccasins and non-venomous ones, northern water snakes, midland water snakes, plain-bellied water snakes, swim on top of the surface. I've also seen every species of water snake I know of swim beneath the surface. Here's a short clip of a water moccasin diving beneath the surface. Take a look at the head of this midland water snake from above. You can see, although it's got a pretty narrow head, just by agitating it a bit, it does kind of reshape it and flatten it out to the point that it looks more like a water moccasin, more like a cottonmouth. It looks like it could have venom glands back here. It looks more arrow-shaped. And they can also flatten out their bodies quite a bit too to make them look much wider. So just because a snake has an arrow-shaped head or a big wide body does not necessarily mean it's venomous. There is some good mimicking that these snakes do as well.
This photo here illustrates it even better. If you notice, the one on the left, based on head shape, looks like it would be a venomous water snake. The one on the right looks like a non-venomous one if we're going just off the head shape rule. But that's not a good rule, and here's why. Not only are both of these snakes non-venomous snakes, they actually both happen to be Nerodia erythrogaster, the plain belly water snake, and they're actually the same size. If you lined them up next to each other, they're virtually indistinguishable from one another, except for the fact that at the moment, the one on the left is agitated and it is defensive, and the one on the right is more calm and relaxed. So the one on the left has reshaped its head to try to intimidate me, while the one on the right is just calm. And if you, again, are just going to identify it by head shape, you're going to think for sure that the one on the left is venomous. But it's not. It doesn't pose a threat of envenomating me at all.
See how flat it gets when I just pet it out at the back of the neck? That's definitely an arrow-shaped head. You let it go, and it'll slender back out. There you go. A lot of times when I first grab these guys, the first thing they'll do is flatten their bodies and change their head shape too. This one isn't really flattening its body right now, but at least you could see that head transition. Down here with an actual water moccasin, you can see that its head in the relaxed state already does have that same similar look to it. And I want to point out for a moment that down here under the water, if I look in these leaves, is actually where that water moccasin is currently hiding. It's not above the water, it's hiding beneath. If you look too, this snake actually does not have that wide of a body until I actually confront it. If I grab it, it usually puffs up right away and begins to flatten out its body even more. So it's not entirely too much thicker the back of the head compared to the neck, but there is a visible difference even in a relaxed state. So if we take a closer look at a non-venomous water snake, this is a Midland water snake. They look a lot like the northern water snakes we had back in Wisconsin. You can see from the side they've got kind of a banding, and on the back they have an interesting pattern too, kind of like a squiggle almost all the way down the back of their bodies. Let me moisten them for a minute. If that brings out the color at all. Yeah, but there he is. And then the bellies of these guys have kind of a bunch of like semicircles. They can be red, black, things like that. This one's kind of a cream orangish color on the belly, but there's also some that are kind of white on the belly, lighter. So there's a variation, but you can see from the side a nice color there. If we look at a younger one of the same species, we can see the same thing heading down the side, but the top is more of a block pattern. On the belly, we see something similar, but it's more tan and light brown, and it lacks some of the reds we saw. So again, on this one, nice slender head and neck at the moment, but if I spent some time threatening it, we would see that change in a moment. And these type of water snakes are very known for biting, but when you grab them. I've never been bit by one I didn't grab. I've been bit by a ton of them that I have grabbed. And actually up here you can see kind of more of that squiggle pattern for a moment. So even on the same snake, there's kind of a changing in the pattern as you head down the back. The other night when I was out catching some of these with one of my children, it almost looked like a prairie king snake from above. I'll insert a photo of that so you guys have something to compare it to. So this one happens to be a large plain-bellied water snake, also known, whoa, if you would have just saw its head from above, you would see a very water moccasin looking like shape of the whole thing. I'm going to do it again. It's kind of there. But you can see where it almost looks like it has venom glands on each side, and it started flattening itself out really well for a moment too. But this plain-bellied water snake, also known as the yellow-bellied water snake, another common non-venomous one here. The easiest way to tell it apart from a Midland or from a northern water snake is just to look at the belly. These ones have a plain belly. On the back of this one, we do see another pattern heading down. But I will say that you can get some in different phases based on when they're going to shed, based on just different variations that almost look solid brown. So the pattern itself is not really a telltale sign with these guys. Let's look at a couple younger ones. So this little plain-bellied water snake almost looks one solid color from the back. When we get it wet, it can bring it out a little bit more. And you can see that there is a pattern down the back. There is a slight pattern on the sides. For the most part, they're one color. It's just brown on brown within the plain belly. Again, a nice slender long snake where based on the length, if you start recognizing the shape of snakes, you'll be able to kind of pick out whether it's a water moccasin or not. But again, these guys can flatten their bodies and distort their shapes. We'll look at one more of these before we get back to the water moccasins. So here's another one. Looks a lot like the first. Perhaps the side pattern is a little more pronounced. It looks more like that large Midland water snake we showed you. But, oh yeah, and if you actually compared both of these heads right now, so if you compare the shape of these two snakes' heads right now, the one on top looks like it's shaped more like a water moccasin. The other one looks nice and slender like a non-venomous water snake. But these are both plain-bellied water snakes. The one just happens to be more relaxed. I've been handling it a little bit longer today. The other one still feels I'm more of a threat, so it's changing the shape of its head. And a minute ago it was just actually, yep, it was showing an open mouth. So you can see that one's a lot less chill than the first one. Ouch! He's actually digging in pretty good. Ouch! That's a good one. Ouch, let go, buddy. So hopefully you guys can still see that there is a difference. This one's starting to chill down now, and if I relax a little bit, they almost look both alike. So, like I said, the head shape is not always going to be a determining factor, and neither is the body shape, because these guys can morph. Oftentimes, this is how you'll find a cottonmouth when you see them. They'll be opening their mouth and having that classic cottonmouth display from which they get their name. So if we zoom in a little bit on this guy, we can tell a couple of things. So then everything comes to a kind of uneventful, anticlimactic end, and we're kind of done. It is what it is, guys. You can see some things that were very interesting, hopefully educational, hopefully thought-provoking, hopefully they imparted to you some different perspective and understanding than you had originally. For those of you who don't really like snakes and still watch this, I am so glad that you checked it out at least. You know, at least expose yourself to it. It's safe, it's on the other side of the screen, you know. They can't get you. But I just wanted to share that with you guys because it's been sitting there on my computer for a very long time, and I thought I might as well finally wrap it up. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. They're interesting creatures, and I'll definitely continue to interact with them. I'll just be more safe so that I don't get interrupted mid-video by a hospital trip. Gonna try to avoid that one. So I'll see you guys next time. Papa out.